We're going to talk about a basic session now, but you've learned a lot of information, you've gathered a lot of details. I'm going to show you how to begin your basic session. You're going to get your client on the table. You're going to make sure that the client is comfortable. They have something supporting their neck. They have something supporting their knees so they're not putting any strain on their lower back. Then you want to make sure that they have a blankie to cover them so that if they get chilly, because a lot of times when we're doing energy work, people will get chilly because we're changing things and we're moving things. As we talked about doing Roto-Rooting, you'll begin your session with Roto-Rooting. You'll begin just simply by making sure they're comfortable, making sure everything is okay. Check their energy level. Check the fields around them. Does it feel like they need to be made more present? Does it feel like maybe they've had a trauma that made them split out? So you always just kind of want to bring the energy up in this manner. And then you want to move automatically right into the Roto-Rooting. And that's where you're going to want to do just some running of the energy up and down, and you want to go through the different layers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You want to move very slowly, very precise, and very directed. And that gives you the opportunity to connect with them, to feel what's going on, and to let their body begin to speak to you. Now I tend to, and this is something that you will develop on your own, but something I tend to do is I tend to work by sections. A lot of people, if you don't and you just try to do it all in one big piecemeal, you'll find that you're forgetting and you're missing different points. So what I will do is I'll go to the knees, which I cover, and I run the energy in the knees and hear what the knees are talking about, hear what the lesser chakra points in the back of the knees have to say. Then I'll run an energy from the base of their foot up to the knee. And then I'll do the same thing from the knee up to the iliac crest, which is right here. You want to run that energy up in this manner. And then what I will do is I will stop and I'll go to the other side of the body. I don't want to take my back to the camera, so I'm not going to be backwards to you. But you'll run the energy at the knees, from the bottom of the foot up to the knee, from the knee to the iliac crest, or the lower back area. Those are the areas you want to focus on first. You'll see I've covered this segment. I've covered them from the foot to the knee, from the knee to the hip. And then I want to do my chakra balancing for the root, allowing that to be made balanced, allowing the energy to flow. And then the sacral. Now say for some reason while I'm working right in here that I feel something going on in their hip, and if I feel like I need to touch this, I will say to the client, is it okay if I touch you right here? And I'll let my client tell me. If they're not comfortable with it, I won't touch them. If they say no, I totally hover. Because we're in a place and we're in a space that can be considered an ethical infringement on their personal space, we want to make sure we always ask. We don't want to come up here and we don't want to bump their boobs. We want to make sure that we're being very careful and working each segmented area. Sometimes we have to slide our hands under their backs. And I'll say, I'm going to put my hand under your back now. And that sometimes they'll lift and sometimes they won't. And you'll just work the different areas on the back as well. So I work one half of the front, half of the back. Half of the front, half of the back. The front of the body is all about the emotional self, the emotional being of them, and the back is about the will. So sometimes we got to adjust that will. Sometimes we don't necessarily have that all figured out, and we have to get that balanced. After we've done both sides, we're also making sure that we're getting the arms and the hands included in this. We then come up here to the shoulders, and we want to place our hands like this under the shoulders. And our thumb, you're fine, and our thumbs are just going to kind of drop onto the front here so that we can run the energy up and down into their energy field, into the nadas, the zones. And we're going to make sure that that energy is flowing nice and clear. We then want to bring our hands under the neck. See how with the tips of my fingers, I'm able to lift her neck? We want to make sure that that's all running, because that's the connection of the central nervous system. This is where this all starts, the energy running up and down in their body. And you want to run that energy nice and clearly, because you've done work from there to here. You should be able to connect at this point and be able to flow that energy wonderfully. I also like to cut my hands behind their ears. My hand is in this position, and I just kind of rest it below their ear, and my fingers, my ring fingers, are catching just at the base of the skull, by the jawline and the skull. Then I always hover, only hover on the face, because we have to be careful that we don't want to give them any eye infections or anything like that from our hands. Even though you're washing your hands and you're making sure that you're doing the necessary things to keep the personal hygiene good, we just don't want to create any potential problems. So you always hover over the face. If you need to work a specific spot, say they have TMJ, I always like to use my middle finger because it doesn't have a whole lot of strength, and that way I'm not going to go in and hurt. I'm just going to allow the energy to begin to flow and to move. And then the third eye, we're going to work here, and the crown, we're going to work here. Now, when we talked about this as a practice, you want to remember that we're going to force things to change. We're not just going to go in and do chakra balancing. We're not just going to go in and do like Reiki healing, waking up the energy. We're going in and actually forcefully changing whatever's going on. So if we go in here in her throat, like at the beginning, her throat was just vibrating. It was making the choice to not make a choice. And so what I would simply do is work until I opened it and allow it to speak to me, allow it to tell me what's going on. And if we cough, hiccup, burp, sneeze, any of those things when we're working, we're actually helping that client to release and let go. And a lot of times I'll hear and I'll say, you know, I'm really getting that you're not allowing yourself to say what you need to say. You're not speaking out what you need to speak out to others. And as I'm saying that, it's going to help me change this energy. It's going to help me to be able to open it up and get the flow that is needed there by talking to her. It's like we put this big message on the big grease board in the sky, and we write it down, and by fixing it, it then gets erased out of this cellular signature of our client. A lot of times I work with my eyes closed so that I can really see energetically what I need to see. And I don't have my physical eyes distracting me. And if you do work with your eyes closed, and you say you do bump your client, say, oh, I'm really sorry, I've got my eyes closed, I didn't mean to bump you. You want to communicate and you want to express to your clients the information that's going to let them know that they're safe and everything is okay.